All right, I'm going to quickly use this moment here to review with you dialogue punctuation. This is probably review. This can't possibly be the first time that you have been taught how to punctuate dialogue in 7th grade. So I'm assuming you've had this in the previous years. But as we venture into our mythology unit and you're charged with writing your own myth possibly at the end of the year, you're going to need to have communication. There will be conversation in your myth, and characters will be talking back and forth, and that is going to be a big part of your grade. So we're going to start right off with making sure that you understand the punctuation of dialogue. It would be very silly of you to lose a lot of points on your embedded assessment if you have silly mistakes with punctuation. So the first thing I need to review with you, go ahead, make sure you have a copy of your notes, and make sure you're on the side that has tagged dialogue. All right, so make sure you're on that side. And I want to review with you what tags are. They're very important to dialogue. If we look at the directions right here, often an author will write, he said, she said, or he asked, to let the reader know who is talking. So the tags are kind of like, hey, I tagged this line because it's said by this person. I think of tags as identification to let the reader know who just said that comment. They're tagged, okay? That comment is tagged. Or an author also might use a person's name, such as Mario said, or Lucy asked. These phrases are called dialogue tags. Tags can appear at the beginning, ending, or even the middle of a sentence. And this is kind of the bulk of what we'll be talking about. And it's really, it kind of comes down, and I want you to go ahead and I want you to write this word. I want you to write placement. And then I want you to underline this sentence right here. And maybe even bring attention to the fact that with a different color, it can be the beginning, the placement of a tag, the location of a tag can be the beginning, the ending, and I'm really going to talk to you because it's kind of cool to have them in the middle of your sentence. So bring attention to those 3 locations and write that this is the placement, of tags, because they can go in 3 different places. So if you need to pause the video to take a second to do that to the directions, go ahead. What I'm going to have you do now with a colored pencil, and I think I might have you use yellow because I usually identify tags with yellow. If there's a yellow highlighter, that would probably be even better. But we're going to put little rectangles around the tags, and that's how we're going to identify them. So every single time you see he said, or Sherry said, or he asked, these are called tags. So I want you to take a look at those. And now I want you to take a look at the placement. Here's a tag at the end of the sentence. This tag begins a sentence. And then again, we have 2 at the end. So that would be a great example of the placement of the tags that we were just talking about in the directions. If we scroll down to the little guy in the surfboard here, you can see the tags actually in dialogue. So this would be within your paragraph that you were writing. Yo man, like yesterday at the beach, I rode the gnarliest wave that ever existed, comma, end of quotation marks. So that's the end of the comment, right? So this is the actual comment. That's why there's quotation marks around it. But this is the tag, he said. But now the person who's speaking is not done. Wish you'd been with me. This is a great example of the tag being in the middle of the sentence or the comment that this person was making. It doesn't have it in the beginning where it says, he said, yo man, or wish you had been with me, comma, he said. They have the tag in the middle of his comment, separated with commas. Let's take a look at the next one. Whoever he is with says, way cool, dude. Oh, it's Tom. Oopsies. Tom said, continuing his comment. Let's go again this afternoon after school. So again, you have another tag placed in the middle of the conversation. Perfect. I like tags in the middle. So this is a great example of tags being in the middle. So if you want to take a second and maybe just write a little note, you know, that these tags are in the middle. All right, that might be a good idea. Just so, you know, just little notes for yourself. All right, let's scroll down and see what they do next with the soccer ball. Our soccer team won big yesterday, and I scored 2 goals, comma, she said. All right, I don't have to know who she is. Maybe I was told earlier in the story. The next person that speaks, I want you to notice, goes on a new line. That's really important, and I'll go above and review that in a moment. Kimiko said, yeah, and they were a tough team to beat too. All right, so here we have a tag at the end and a tag at the beginning. But I want you to point out that if it's a new speaker, and let's make a little note here, okay? Because this is going to be, these are your notes. New speaker, this is kind of like the golden rule. New speaker, you're writing this right here, equals, I don't know what happened, equals new line, okay? That is the golden rule. Each time a new speaker, so make sure you're writing this, you know, right down there, these are your notes. If each time a new speaker goes to speak, you need to make sure that you start a new line. Let's see if the other ones previous did that. So here I know that my tag said he said. So when the next speaker speaks, it's Tom, right? Look, it is. They did it. It's on a new line. So that one's right. If I look up here, I see he said. I don't think this was a conversation. I think these were just examples. Oh, no, that's a conversation. All right, so we have a person here, but when Sherry speaks, it's on a new line. Then we're back to whoever he is, and then we are back to Sherry. So they each get a new line when the speakers switch. It's very, very important to switch the lines when the speakers switch. All right. So now we're down here. Tammy, that's your tag. My dad falls asleep in front of the TV every night. I bet he doesn't snore like my dad, Theo said. So we have tags at the end. There's Tammy and there's Theo. So I'm going to make Tammy, each time she speaks, she's going to get a green arrow. Theo speaks, so I have to start a new line. But then it's back to Tammy, so I get a new line for Tammy, and then it goes back to Theo, new line. All right. All right, so here we have a conversation where the tag is at the end. Let's look at the one where it's interrupted. I guess what I kind of want to point out to you right now, because I think you get the point, the tags can go in the middle. Let's take a look at the punctuation. So you have a comma right here, and then you end the quotation marks. And then you have your tag, period. When Adam continues the next thing that he's going to say, you start it with another quotation mark. Always put the end marks, exclamation point, you know, the question mark, period, commas. They always go inside the quotation marks. They never go on the outside. All right, turn your notes over on the back onto the page where it talks about the punctuating. Now that we've discussed the tags, let's go into a little bit more detail with the punctuating. All right, so here's a couple golden rules. Maybe you could bring attention with some colored pencils or highlighters here. Use quotation marks to surround spoken words. So that's basically conversation, right? Put all punctuation marks inside the quotation marks. We just kind of talked about that. Indent each time someone new is speaking. Oh, this is kind of new. We talked about starting a new line, right? A new line, new speaker, new line, but also make sure you indent. So this rule is kind of new, so take note of that. All right, let's look at the examples. I like this side of your notes because it has little arrows that points out, the punctuation that they want you to be noting. So we have our quotation marks starting, quotation marks ending, and all I need you to note here is that the end mark, which happens to be a period in this situation, they all go before the quotation marks. All right, easy enough. Now let's look at some other ones. Down below here, we have an example of a question mark and an exclamation point. They're going inside the quotation marks as well. All end marks inside the quotation marks. I kind of think it's the quotation marks like guarding and protecting your end marks. Everybody has to be all snug inside. You don't want anybody left outside of the quotation marks. Not safe. Okay, so then we scroll down, and here's this rule that we kind of didn't talk about. This is new. Remember to indent when a new speaker begins speaking. So I like how they kind of brought your attention to that here. Notice there are two speakers. The writer indented for the first speaker and then indented again for the second speaker. So we have a different speaker here than here. However, anybody noticing something? It's really hard to know who's speaking. It's really hard to know that these are different speakers. It's difficult to know who is speaking because we are missing something. They don't have tags. So as you can see, perfect example of why tags are so helpful to have. All right, grab the sheet on your desk that has the gorilla, punctuating tagged dialogue. Go ahead and write your name. Write your first and last name up at the top. And the directions are asking you to practice adding punctuation. Okay, so what you have to do is just assume that these numbers 1 through 8, that they are comments made by people, okay? I don't want you to think that they're just random sentences, therefore it's not dialogue. I'm telling you that 1 through 8, they are comments, they are examples of dialogue. Therefore, you are going to be adding quotation marks, as it says right here in the directions. So you are adding 3 things. You're going to be adding punctuation marks, quotation marks, and I want you to personally write in your own tags. That means you're going to be making up these characters' names, and if you don't want to use a character's name, you can use he or she, but you're going to be adding your own tags in these sentences. So I want you to pause the video, and I want you to work on numbers 1 through 8. When you're ready, you can unpause the video, and I will move this down and show you the answers. But please don't look at the answers. So I'm going to give you several minutes here to pause the video and do 1 through 8 on your own. So go ahead and hit pause. You'll come back when you're ready to check your answers. Hit pause. You should hit pause by now. All right, if you're back, that means you're done and you're ready to correct your answers and compare them to mine. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down so you can check out what I did. So if I were you, I would pause the video here, and you can make sure that your end marks and all of your quotation marks are correct. Number 8 was the hardest one. Check out my tag in the middle of the sentence and make sure that you did your quotation marks correctly. Because I can tell you what, I see a small little mistake. You need to have quotes there and quotes there as well, because the tag is in the middle. So check out number 8 and make sure you got that one right. And again, remember, it's okay if you have different tags than I do. I used Bob. Maybe you have Joe. Maybe you have he. And also note that, I used explained. I used screamed because it made sense because flames were burning. So take a look and compare your answers to mine and see if you did the same thing. But remember to add those quotation marks here because the tag completely interrupts it. When you're done checking over your answers, you can go ahead and put the iPad in the middle of the table, make a pile of all the iPads in the middle of the table. That way I'll know that you are done.